Hi, this is Brian with another optimized video. Today we're going to talk about how we can optimize our lives with more ancient wisdom in less time. Last video we talked about modern science. How about some ancient wisdom? We'll look at Aristotle's ethics, our philosopher's notes on his ethics, and Marcus Aurelius, Stoics. We'll look at the Bhagavad Gita, the Dhammapada, some of the core central books in some of the major philosophical and faith traditions. Quick context. If you're already part of Optimize, you know. If you are not yet part of Optimize, optimize.me, that's optimize.me, cruise on over. You can get instant access for free, no strings attached, no ads, no credit card required, no spam, blah, blah, blah. Get access to Optimize, which is all about more wisdom in less time. So we have a collection of 600 philosopher's notes, which are distillations of some of the best books in personal growth, ancient wisdom, modern science, etc. 6-page PDFs, 20-minute MP3s. We also have 50 Optimal Living 101 classes on a range of subjects from what we're going to talk about today, ancient wisdom, modern science, mental toughness, habits, sleep, dozens of categories that you may want to consider optimizing if you want to live and become the best, most heroic version of yourself. We also have a collection of what we call Optimize Plus Ones, which are short form, little micro lessons, 2, 3, 5 minutes long. People used to pay $100 a year, $250 a lifetime. It's now free. As I have mentioned, as part of my new business, Heroics acquisition of Optimize, giving it all away for free to help catalyze our movement, fulfill our mission to make a true, deep, lasting impact in the well-being in the world. With that, ancient wisdom. So my two favorite subjects are ancient wisdom and modern science. And then I love all the modern tweaks on it with, peak performance books, etc. But it's ancient wisdom and modern science. These ideas have been talked about for thousands of ideas across every culture that's ever existed. So this collection, I think, is really, really important. And frankly, I think it's the foundation. It's why in the category listing, it's at the top. We start with ancient wisdom and modern science. Then we get into all the other fun stuff. But this is really the bedrock of how to create a great life. There are no really great new ideas. There are new takes on ancient ideas that modern science is validating, but let's not reinvent the wheel. Let's look at what the greatest thinkers across all time have said about how to live a noble, virtuous, worthy life. So I start in the Western tradition, which is, go back to Socrates and Plato and Aristotle, etc. Aristotle's ethics is a really powerful distillation of what those ancient thinkers thought was the ultimate purpose of life. And if you asked Aristotle what the meaning of life was, he'd answer in a single word. He'd say the summum bonum, the highest good, is to live with what he called eudaimonia in his cohort back in the day. Eudaimonia is weakly translated into English as happiness, but it has a deeper meaning, something closer to flourishing or fulfilling your potential, being the best version of yourself. All right, so we talk about this a lot in this note and throughout our program, our mastery series, throughout the Heroic app is going to start with this. You got to know the game you're playing and then play it well. Ancient wisdom, modern science agree. They say the same thing. Eudaimonia is the summum bonum, the highest good, to express the best version of yourself. Then you ask Aristotle, well, how do you do that? And let's actually go into this so you can see it contextually. If you know already, a philosopher's note takes this 400-page book and it distills it into a 6-page PDF and 20-minute MP3 in which I pull out my favorite big ideas, those sections you asterisk and underline and mark all up. And then I help you make sense of it, especially in old school text like this. It's kind of challenging. And you're busy, right? You don't have as much time as I spent. I spent thousands and thousands and thousands of hours. I did nothing but read and write and teach for over a decade. 600 books. Let's go. So I pull out what I think we need to know, and then I connect these ideas to other books and other ideas and other teachers. Then I give you a playful kick in the butt to go live these ideas today, to show up powerfully for yourself and your family and your communities in the world. And that's what a philosopher's note looks like. Now, if you asked Aristotle, sorry, I'm trying to find it here. Let's just go to the web for this. If you asked Aristotle, hey, what is the meaning of life? He'd tell you eudaimonia. Then you say, well, how do I achieve that? He'd answer in a single word, which I tattooed to my body because it summarizes my entire philosophy, arete. Live with arete. That word directly translates as virtue or excellence. The way I like to describe it is, if you are capable of being this, and you are being this, and there's a gap between who you could be and who you are actually being, it's in that gap that regret, anxiety, disillusionment exists. You do not experience eudaimonia. You experience, all the other icky things. But if you close the gap by living with arete and being the best version of yourself right now, what do you experience? In this moment, you feel eudaimonia. You feel that sense of joy and flourishing, but guess what? You got to show up moment to moment to moment, which is why Eckhart Tolle, in his own spiritual take, talks about the power of now. It's not the power of 10 minutes ago or 10 days ago or 10 years ago. It's the power of now. Can you show up powerfully right now, living with arete moment to moment to moment? If you do, you're going to experience that deep sense of joy. And then, again, you're never going to do it perfectly, but our work together is to help you do that more and more consistently so you can show up as the optimize, which is from the Latin optimus, which means the best. We're optimizing so you can show up as the best version of yourself, which is that eudaimonic, heroic, best version of yourself in service to the world, etc. We can talk about this for a weekend. We do talk about it in depth in the Mastery series in the Coach program, and we talk about it a lot. We will talk about it a lot in the Heroic app. But for now, Aristotle, the ethics. I mean, we need to know what Aristotle has to say. We need to know what the Stoics have to say. So what is Marcus Aurelius? Brilliant emperor philosopher who's back there on my wall, my favorite leader. What does he say in the Meditations about how to live a noble life? Again, top 3 Stoics, Marcus Aurelius, Epictetus, who's my favorite teacher, who taught the people who taught Aurelius. Epictetus is a former slave, who taught the tutors who taught the emperor. Very interesting connection there. Epictetus' discourse is super powerful. Seneca, third big Stoic philosopher. He wrote a number of essays collected in this, On the Shortness of Life, another one called The Letters from a Stoic. Check it out. We want to know what the Stoics had to say. But then what about the East? How about the Bhagavad Gita, which is the seminal religious text of Hinduism? It was Gandhi's Bible. What wisdom is there in the Bhagavad Gita that we can tap into? I'll tell you what, there's a lot. And again, I don't think we're serious about optimizing and actualizing our lives if we're not at least exploring what these great wisdom traditions have had to say. 2,000, 2,500 years, etc. Eknatheswaran is another one of my favorite teachers. We have the most notes on his books. I forget what the number is, like 8 or something. But he translated this and provides a commentary that is amazing. This particular translation I highly recommend. Some of them can get a little bit less than readable. He keeps it just so grounded and so practical and so beautiful. So check that out. We've got a bunch of ideas from this on how you can live your greatest life in the 21st century, leaning into wisdom, not just from the West and the classic Greeks and the Stoics, but also from the East, the Bhagavad Gita. What about Buddhism? What does Buddhism have to say? Well, the book you should consider reading to get the distillation there is called the Dhammapada. The Dhammapada is also, it's the sayings of the Buddha. This translation I love is also by Eknatheswaran. It's a beautiful book that he beautifully translates and comments on. Highly recommend you check this out. Want to know what the Buddha had to say and why there are so many people following Hinduism and Buddhism? Well, check out these core texts. Same thing goes with Islam and Christianity, a little bit more challenging, right? It's hard to get the Quran boiled down. It's hard to get the Bible boiled down. So we'll go to a proxy. We'll go to one of the spiritual teachers, Rumi, who wrote this. He's a Sufi mystic, an extension of the core practice of Islam. I studied Rumi in Konya, Turkey, where he's buried,
Back in the day on a trip where I studied Jesus in Jerusalem, Socrates in Athens, literally the port of Piraeus, I was reading the Apology by Plato where Socrates was. It was a surreal moment for me. I'm like, yeah, I'm at the port of Piraeus, taking a boat from Athens to some class I was going to take on a tiny little island out there. And so I'm going to study Socrates in Athens. I'm at the port of Piraeus, and I'm reading about how Socrates went to the port of Piraeus before he got his hemlock and all that good stuff, right? But then Rumi in Konya, Turkey. Konya, Turkey used to be the center of the world back in the day when Rumi was there. What's he have to say about spiritual living, and how can we apply that to our modern lives? Check out the note here. What about, let's go further east. How about Confucius? What does he have to say? He's got some powerful wisdom, which, by the way, is what everyone says. They're all saying the exact same thing, and I have goosebumps right now, which as I went deeper and deeper, I saw. They're all saying the same thing. Of course, the cultures differed, and the way they expressed it was different, but they all said, live with virtue. Be the best version of yourself in service to something bigger than yourself. Modern science has based their entire research basically on that idea and have proven the exact same idea. So how about the Analects of Confucius? What about Lao Tzu? What do we learn in the Tao Te Ching? Similar things, albeit very different than Confucius. They took very different approaches. Confucius I'm more aligned with. He's all about get the discipline, get the structure. Lao Tzu is more all about let it flow, kind of be present with everything and let it go. Now you want both, right? But I definitely lean more toward Confucius, but study both of them. See what resonates most with you. Then check out this book by a modern neuroscientist named Edward Slingerland. His book is called Trying Not to Try. Ancient China, Modern Science, and the Power of Spontaneity. Super cool book that brings to life the different approaches, not just of Lao Tzu and Confucius, but other primary teachers back in the day, with a modern science, neuroscience lens. Super powerful. Then, let's go to Jefferson for his life and morals of Jesus in his Jeffersonian Bible. So Jefferson actually snipped, different parts of the Bible and created his own Bible, which was focused on what Jesus had to say and left some of the other stuff out there. Now, again, I have deep respect for all wisdom traditions, and I'm most committed to seeing what they all said in common, and then challenging you, whatever your faith, whether it's philosophical and Stoic or agnostic or secular or any one of these wisdom traditions, live it. Be in integrity with it. Close the gap. You say this is important to you? Perfect. Are you living it? That's what you'll get from me again and again and again in what we use Jefferson's Bible as a conduit to explore Christianity. So we've got ancient Greek wisdom distilled in the notes on the Nicomachean Ethics. I might have mispronounced that. God, or please forgive me. And then we've got a few of the primary notes on Stoicism, Aurelius' Meditations, Epictetus' Discourses, Seneca's On the Shortness of Life. Then we go east, the Bhagavad Gita, the Dhammapada, Rumi, and then we go further east, Confucius, Lao Tzu, his Tao Te Ching, some modern science, then we get Jeffersonian Bible, etc. Now, then we go deep back into Stoicism. So in the Stoic category, we have a ton of books distilled into Philosopher's Notes, including the Daily Stoic, some more books by Epictetus, some other leading thinkers. I won't go through all these again, but check them out. And then we've also got a collection of books on Buddhism that you can check out that help us bring this wisdom from the ancient world to life in our modern times. And then, of course, in this section, I have the Stoicism 101 class. So this is kind of a repeat here. I haven't done a 101 on ancient wisdom per se, but I did do one on Stoicism. And then we have a ton of Optimized Plus Ones, which are those short form little micro lessons where we take the best big ideas and give them to you in and out kind of thing, videos and blog, etc. Really, really powerful ideas here that I hope you find value in. At the risk of making this longer than it already is, I will wrap it up at that. Ancient wisdom, modern science. I think that's the foundation of a great, wise life in which we idiosyncratically integrate the wisdom.
The question isn't what these great teachers had to say or what any of the modern teachers have to say or what I may have to say. It's what do you think? What is your Bible? What does your book of philosophy have to say to you? And most importantly, are you living in integrity with it? That's ultimately what the world needs today more than ever before, is these warriors of the mind, as we talked about in the Stoic category. We don't need more theory, we need more practice. It's easy to study these things. It's much more challenging to actually live them. And that's precisely what we need today and precisely why we've made Optimize free and why I am so intensely coming through in these notes and 101s and plus ones to challenge you and me, of course, to be the best, most heroic versions of ourselves, not someday, but today. Let's get on that. Hope you enjoy. Look forward to sharing more with you soon. See you.